Welcome to the Vine Resources podcast show. Welcome to another edition of the Vine Resources podcast show. I'm absolutely delighted to have with us on the show today Thomas Vanderstraeten, who is the CTO of Seraphin, which is in Belgium. Thank you very much for joining us, Thomas.
My pleasure. Hello.
Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on this one. And it was great to come back to us because I'd love to talk about your business. You're still a fairly new business, which is fantastic. I think just over a year old, but you're already 20 employees in the Belgian market. Can you give us a quick overview, a little bit for our listeners of what your company is all about?
Yeah, so our company is called Seraphin. Seraphin is the angel of protection, actually. So our business is to protect people, and we are the first online broker here in Belgium. So we basically evolved from a traditional broker to the fully online model where we do online advice, product selling, and then as well all the management and the claims management that comes with insurance.
And you're based in Brussels?
Yeah, we are based in Brussels, but given the fact that we are digital, we've got customers all over Belgium.
What does a typical day look like for you in your business right now?
Good. So my title is CTO, so I'm Chief Technology Officer of Seraphin. But given the fact that we are quite a small company, so a bit less than 20 employees, as you mentioned, I work a lot as a product owner as well. So I'm in charge of both prioritizing the business features, the value proposition that we want to implement and deliver to our customers, as well as actually making sure that we get this implemented. So I basically spend my day half with the business, extracting what it is they want to implement and how we can prioritize and make sure we always deliver the highest priority features first. And then the other half is spent working with the developers, basically implementing these features and doing the maintenance of the website. And then next to that, that's what my typical day looks like. But of course, I do also work at night because I'm an entrepreneur. And at night, I tend to come back to my old love, which is basically developing. So I do a lot of coding at night, mostly working on R&D stuff, such as getting connected with the APIs of the insurers we work with, and really preparing the future of brokering.
I'd love to know any person that even has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader, perhaps even someone that might have been a mentor to you.
So I had the chance to have a great mentor while I was working there. His name was Laurent Hermois, and the guy was previously my manager, and now he's turned into a partner at Bain. And he was extremely demanding with me, but at the same time extremely supportive. It's really the kind of mentor that you want to have, especially when you start a career. And it's the kind of mentor I try to be today with my teams. It's basically the kind of guy who, when you start a professional review discussion with him, he will tell you straight to the point that maybe 90% of what you do is good, but then there's this 10% that is not good and that you should focus on. And he will spend 90% of the time of the discussion focusing on this 10% and really, drilling down on what you can improve. And that's really super powerful. And it's only possible, of course, if you have sufficient confidence that when he spends all that time saying what you can improve, that he really means that the 90% other of your profile is good. So and he's been extremely demanding while I was working with him, and this has actually enabled me to grow quite a lot. That's in the professional discussions, but for me, leaders are most inspiring when they actually act and do stuff. So I had the occasion to work with him on a post-merger integration between two huge consumer goods companies. We were working on their SAP integration. And what basically happened is that when we actually arrived on the project, it had been going on for 6 months, and it was already late by 4 months or something like that. And the guy really showed to be a bulldozer, pushing everyone around, and so that finally we could make it, despite the fact that no one actually believed we would be able to be in time for the go live.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. And hopefully that's instilled some of that work ethic in you and your team then.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, trying at least.
And it's interesting as you build the company, employee engagement is critical for the success of any business. What do you see as the top things that you're doing that keep your employees engaged?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this question, and actually, I would say expose them to the love, but not any love. Actually, the love of the customers. So you really, we are in business of protection, which is something that can get quite sentimental. Imagine that suddenly your house will be on fire, and then the person that is there to protect you is the insurance broker. And when you arrive and you see people in such situations, you gotta be very human. So there's loads of emotions in our job. And so what we do to keep employees engaged at Seraphin is get employees to be as close as possible to the customers so that they will feel the love. Of course, sometimes it's not only love, right? Sometimes we can improve, but really feeling that good vibe that comes from the customers actually helps keeping employees engaged. And this holds true for the commercial people that spend their time calling, but also really for developers. And what I try to do as much as possible is to get each developer to actually feel how they contribute for value that is being delivered at the end to the customer. And so every time we got a good testimonial from a customer regarding a feature we delivered, or a bug that we fixed really fast and proactively, then every time I try to get that vibe to be really delivered to the developer, and that holds true in the entire company. I think you can really get everyone exposed to the customer love, and that is really powerful.
Do you know what? It's fantastic to hear that. And I think, sometimes the development team can be sometimes isolated. And it's really great that you're infusing that so that everyone is close to the customer. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Or the best piece of business advice, I should say?
Yeah, this actually came from my first manager, who also now turned into a partner at Bain. I still do have very good friends at Bain. And actually, when that person got promoted to partner, she told us what was the best business advice she ever received. And now it has struck me as something really valuable. And it's simply to be yourself. But like fully be yourself, be completely in line in everything that you do in all circumstances. And that enables you to deliver your full energy to your surroundings. And so I really like the advice because it came with a very powerful example. So basically, it's about the history of growing up. When you grow up and you go to school, you make friends and you will act like being fully yourself with friends. And then when you will come back at home and you will see your parents, maybe you won't be entirely yourself. You would be a bit restricted in your emotions because it doesn't feel at ease to be fully yourself with your parents when you are young. And then when you grow up, when you come out of when you basically become an adult, you start to be fully yourself with your parents, right? And then you get your first job, and you won't be fully yourself because you are a bit testing this new environment, and it will take time before you actually fully behave like you are with all your colleagues. And when you do that, then it gets really powerful. And then the next step that you can do is actually be fully yourself with your customers if you work in a service business. And be with your customers just like you are with your colleagues, just like you are with your friends, just like you are with your parents, And growing up like that, being fully yourself all the time, I think this is really, really powerful.
What do you think is the biggest challenge facing leaders today, in your opinion?
So, after I left Bain, it was 2 years ago, and before joining Seraphin, I was actually looking to develop an application for employee well-being. Because at Bain, as you might know, and in the industry of management consulting as a whole, people do work quite a lot, and employee well-being is very important for that. And so I explored the opportunity to launch a product for that. And so this led me to meet more than 20 top HR directors from big corporates, asking them really, like what is top of your mind when it comes to recruiting the best talent? What are your key concerns? Because for me, talent is like the key thing you need to run a business. And actually, the key challenge that they faced, and it really strikes me even today when I'm recruiting people, is fulfilling the sense of purpose that the new generation of talent is in need of. So really, I feel that all the newcomers on the job market, they don't simply want a career. They don't simply want a package or, a salary or whatever. They really want to feel that they are in the game for something, and that they will fully fulfill themselves and look for a purpose in their job. And I think that businesses have got to reinvent themselves so that they can feel that sense of purpose. At Seraphin, for example, we try to do that, with the business of protection, which is very powerful as a purpose actually, because it's very human. Protecting people is like one of the main purposes. If you are a parent, for example, you want to protect your children. So that's very powerful. But I don't think that all industries are in such a good position to offer a sense of purpose. And I think that's really a great challenge facing leaders today.
I think that's a great point there. When you bring in new employees into your company, for example, how do you get them to understand the culture?
I think culture is all about people, right? So you won't get them to read manuals or consult portals on the intranet or whatever. I mean, the best way to get people accustomed to your culture is just to get them to talk to other people, to observe a lot, everything that's around them. What I try to do with new developers, for example, when it comes to my team, is getting them to spend time with all different departments we've got in our company. So they will spend time in the back office, in the commercial section, with the other IT guys, of course. And so they'll get to know everyone. And since everyone together makes up the culture, they'll get accustomed to the culture.
There's maybe some mistakes that you've made or mistakes you've seen other leaders make, but what is the one mistake that you might have seen leaders make more frequently than others?
I talk about one of my mistakes that I also observe in other people, and I think it's all about ego, right? So it's about falling in love with your ideas, about not being capable of making a distinction between people and the opinions they bring on the table. And I think, completely letting go of your attachment to any idea that you put on the table in a discussion is actually very powerful. And at the contrary, not doing it and sticking to an idea just because it's yours actually poisons all debates, poisons all projects. I've heard say quite a lot that the worst project managers are basically the managers that fall in love with the project. And I think the same holds true for leaders as well. For everyone with strong characters, with strong ideas, the more you attach yourself to an idea, the less productive it will be. And I think leaders having often big egos, they are more prone to fall to that than other people.
And what do you see perhaps in your industry particularly? How do you see that changing in the next couple of years, and how do you believe that will affect you attracting the best talent?
So that's an interesting question, because our industry originally is a super old industry. I wouldn't say that it's one of the oldest jobs in the world, because that's not a compliment. But insurance brokerage has been around for quite some time. And so that's a very traditional job that will basically be heavily disrupted by technology. And we are actually at the edge of this disruption. So we are disrupting the industry as we go. And we are very happy to be in a blue ocean here in Belgium, because we are the only fully digital broker. But even so, I believe that although we are disrupting the industry, we will also be heavily disrupted by the non-traditional players. And we know them all. It's Google, it's Facebook, it's all these big networks that have the power to basically offer insurance as a byproduct of whatever you do. For example, Booking.com can easily offer insurance on top of the travel arrangements and things like that. And so, in order to stay relevant, the only thing we can do is really stay close to the people. So still keep this aspect of protection, of love for the people, and also by playing on on 360 protection, if you wish. Like Booking.com could offer travel insurance. Any other company, Google could offer house insurance or whatever. But we as a broker, we have access to the whole range of insurance products out there, and that's how we stay relevant. It's by offering fully hands-on packages with all the protection you need.
You're the one-stop digital shop for insurance in Belgium.
Exactly. That's well summarized.
If you took yourself back a few years, not many years, I'm sure, but if you took yourself back a few years and you were giving yourself 20-year-old self advice, or perhaps you just left school, what advice would you give yourself now you can look back at in hindsight?
No, that's a really great question. I love it, especially because I'm not even 30, you know. So, but so now thinking about this, I would say really don't wait until all the stars align to take a decision. Treat your life. I've been thinking a lot about this because currently I'm building a lot of MVPs as a concepts for Seraphin, so minimum viable products. And it struck me as an analogy that sometimes you should treat your life as an MVP, you know, and say good is good enough. If you have a good gut feeling with a decision you want to make in your career, in your personal life, whatever, just do it, and then you know things will come out fine, and you will work out the details as you go. But please don't wait until all the stars align and until everything is perfect, because otherwise you will never move. And I believe optimism lies in action. So act and see what happens next.
I think that's great advice, and I hear that from people every day that's perhaps holding them back from making things happen. So really great advice there. Thomas, if people want to connect with you, to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can basically contact me via Seraphin. So it's seraphin.be, and just drop a mail at hello@seraphin.be, and I will get back in contact with them.
Thomas, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you again soon in the future.
Okay, my pleasure. See you. Bye.